Good morning. The Profitable Manufacturer is now live. We welcome you to our episode number 16, where we are going to talk about launching your manufacturing concept with profit first. A lot of people think about it after they get things going. So I'm Annette Lancey. I'm co-host, and I am the owner of CastCoverz, a rock and fun manufacturing company based right here in the United States. I'm also the owner of She Makes Products, where we help women product entrepreneurs break through that six-figure revenue barrier so they can grow and scale profitably. And my co-host.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Jason Snider, owner of Aspyr Advisers and co-founder of some Ecommerce Advisors.
Okay, and so today we're going to talk about if you have a manufacturing concept, basically how do you budget for it? I mean, that's really the bottom line, and how do you get profit? And so I will start with not only my own personal experience, but also I'm helping a current brand spanking new apparel company and how I am incorporating profit first into it. So when I first got started, it's just all expenses, like everybody. It's just, you just buy an expense, but it just flies out the door. And the one thing that I'm doing with my apparel concept client, who's brand spanking new, who knows nothing about the sewn goods industry, nothing about packaging or shipping or supplying or yields or anything like that. It's really a fun client, but they are so sharp, so smart, and so dedicated and so passionate about their product that they're open to learning about things. And they know I use the profit first system and how it has saved my own manufacturing business a couple times. So typically the old method is you just spend, and you make mistakes and you just go on. And what we recommend is that you start thinking about profit first. Now, it is hard to do when all you're doing is spending. So when your first sale comes in, very first sale, you have to think about putting that into the different total allocation percentages and get yourself into the profit first mode. Because the first sale, even though you have probably a lot of debt and or you have spent a lot of capital and you want to reimburse it, you still need to think about profit first. Jason, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, it's about setting intention. There's no set, hey, you got to follow this formula or that formula. It's about being intentional. And an example we use with some of our, if you will, early stage clients, and we define it as product market fit. They're still searching for what that pricing, that offering, what's that going to look like? And so a lot of things are fluid at that point. But so what we're wanting to do is be intentional. So what we've done with our clients there is we come up with this like a allocation schedule based on their revenue. So as they're growing or scaling or they're figuring things out, they've got a predefined method of being able to allocate capital or cashes that comes about based on their sales. And it allows companies to, 80% of the finance function is figured out, meaning they don't have to spend a bunch of time going back and recalculating their budgeting or other things based on their sales numbers. It gives them a way to grow into allocations, but also importantly, it gets them thinking about ahead what's going to happen next after they've got those sales, and their pricing is, again, 70-80% figured out so that they can move forward and things on an intentional level rather than just being responsive all the time.
I'd like to say when I first started, my passion is what carried the business. If it wasn't a clear path or intention to profit, without a doubt, and it wasn't until I was far into the business that I realized I was in big trouble and needed to do something different. And that's why Jason and I are here to help manufacturing companies make sure they don't get to that same position and or help rectify it if it does happen. And the one thing that could have helped with me is, okay, you got your first sale. Yay. That's something absolutely to celebrate, but what do you do? And so, as Jason said, it's the intention, it's the opportunity to really set your business up for success. And in manufacturing, it's really important on cost of goods sold. You can almost guarantee from the get-go that you are going to be at very narrow margin, if not at a loss. And so the typical cost of goods traditional method is you identify what your labor costs are and what your materials costs are, and that's cost of goods sold. and then you multiply that by 5, and that's your retail price. So when you get started, you don't have the volume yet, you don't have the scale, and we're talking about people that are not venture backed, that don't have unlimited funds. They really do have to be aware of what they have and what the resources they have. And so what you want to do is, ideally, you want to go 5 times cost of goods. It probably does not happen until you're at a certain level and certain scale. I know it didn't happen until I was probably it was about 200,000 in annual revenue. It's when I started realizing, oh, wait, my pricing's way off here. And so then I could start buying at volume. And now 14 years later, I'm buying massive volumes. And so I can keep my costs down, my cost of goods. And so my profit margin is greater, allowing for the expenses for the business. Jason?
Yeah, it's, again, similar. It's about setting that to having some guidelines of how to operate, and not just be responsive or reactive is a better term to what the market gives you, if you will. And what I mean by that is, like you talked about that formula, 5 times your cost of goods calculation. It provides some guideposts like, oh, maybe I'm a little too low, maybe I'm a little too high, or not high as far as pricing, because you want to take on if you can get that price on the books, if you will. But it's being intentional, having some guideposts to allow you to focus on that part of getting the sales in without, setting yourself back for a future by taking on a lot of debt. But most importantly, being aware. So it's okay if you have a strategy. Hey, I'm going to do a little bit at 5% loss because these factors, I know I'll be able to recover that once I get to volume. It's about being aware of those situations rather than stumbling onto it 12 months down the road and you've got a gap that you have to either go back to the market and adjust your pricing, which then you may lose some sales and things because the market's already expecting that pricing.
The other thing that I keep getting asked, I'm sure Jason does too, is when you start a business, well, how much can I get paid? When can I get paid? And that, of course, is another guideline and intention as we're talking about your business. And what you want to do is you want to start your business so it's healthy. And typically when you get started, there's a lot of debt or you need to repay the resources that you utilize. It doesn't matter if it's your credit card or your grandmother. It doesn't matter. You usually want to pay those back. And so the profit first system, excuse me, is set up so you take the profit first, and every quarter you take a profit distribution, which includes paying off debt, but giving yourself a celebration of what you've accomplished. And that's every quarter. And in fact, I've even talked to some of my customers, well, my profits, like I don't have any debt, but my profit would only be like $300 for a quarter. I said, great, no debt, $300. What you do is you go out and you buy a annual zoo pass. That was one example I gave to somebody. And then every time your family goes to the zoo, you have a wonderful way of celebrating, saying, hey, my company did this because I had a profit. And this is very important to set this up right from the beginning. If you do have debt, the quarterly distribution is 90% goes towards debt, and then 10% goes towards, even if it's an ice cream cone, it doesn't matter. Something to celebrate. And you'll see this grow, and it's amazing. It's kind of like children and pets. You watch them grow, and before you know it, they're 2 years old or 3 years old. And before you know it, you're getting paid substantial income out of your profit distributions, and your debt is gone. It's a wonderful process.
Right. Yeah. And again, we're going to keep saying it over and over again. It's being intentional, having the awareness of what you're doing. That's why the bookkeeping part of it is essential even at the beginning, because you want that visibility of, like we said, you can't make those plans and strategies unless you know where you're currently at. And one thing I'll add to what you were talking about, even in the beginning, take 1% for your owner's salary, 1% for your profit, build the habit, build the intentionality from the beginning, rather than zero. Oh, there's not much there. It's not about that. It's about building the habit for the future. You're changing your habits by following the profit first system.
Yep. And Mike Michalowicz, who's the creator of the profit first system, always talks about the behavioral aspects, and that as entrepreneurs, we have a tendency to think differently, and our plates look different, and everything looks different. And so he puts a great emphasis on the behavioral aspects, and that's what Jason's talking about, is just start with the habit. 1%. And I remember when I had I think it was the pandemic. Could have been something else. No, it was a couple years before that when I got hit hard with the Panda algorithm on Google. And I mean hard, decimated, plunged down. And I also found out that somehow my website had been compromised, and somebody had put Viagra and payroll and payday code in my. So at the same time, the Panda algorithm but it didn't surface we couldn't find it for, I think it was about 5 weeks, but it decimated me. But because of Profit First, I had a vault, I had a savings, and so I could pay things. And so it was a savior without a doubt. But I started over again. I said, okay, I got to start. Because I had then, once we found the problem, we still had to, it took a while for it to ramp. So it was about a 3-month process. And so I went back and said, okay, it wasn't 1%, but it wasn't what I was doing, and built it back up again. It's a great method to save the company, save yourself, save your sanity. Oh my gosh, to have that formula. So you didn't try to figure out, you just had the formula in place.
Right. And it's, we can't speak highly enough about the Profit First system. And so we want to help each of you who are looking to start a business in manufacturing to get started from the beginning. We don't want you coming to us 1-2 years down the road where we have to come in with this system, that's the same thing that we're teaching you today, that you can implement it now and not have to pay, I would say not higher fees per se, but generally is more costly in the long term, not just in fees, but also in your profitability and the viability in some cases of the businesses.
I'd love to talk about the intangibles, because the stress that I felt before I had this, the things that kept me awake at night, the ugly conversations I had with my husband, and deservedly so, because where was the money going? All of those those take a toll on your life. They take a toll on your relationships. They take a toll on your business. You start, you're not having the confidence in your decision making. This provides all of that and more. And it just completely transforms the way you look at your business, and it gives you the skills you need to make a good decision, because the Profit First method will tell you how much you need to spend for COGS. I have a COGS account, and it is supplies, raw materials, and labor. If money's not in there, I'm not doing it. It's the same thing with, I happen to have an extra account for travel / professional development, and some bright and shiny new conference shows up. I look in my account. Can I afford it or not? It makes the decision-making process so easy, and it works.
Yeah, that's why our show is the Profitable Manufacturer. It's essential in our view that this be part of any business, small, big, medium, starting out, 10 years old. There's a place for it in your manufacturing business to implement this.
Even right from the beginning, as we were talking about, it's building the habit, setting the intention, and having some guidelines. Doesn't everybody want that? I know all of my clients do. I know I did. I know I do. I still do. I still love it. I still have it. And it helps make the decisions. It's just amazing, the product.
Yeah. And I know Mike talks about it in the book of the concept, but another thing around that is we tend to be more creative when we have constraints around us as well.
Oh, yes. Elaborate on that, Jason.
Yeah. It's I think he refers to it as the toothpaste. I forgot the specific story. If you remember it, you can go ahead.
Parkinson principle.
Yeah, Parkinson's.
Peter principle.
Parkinson's. It's Parkinson's.
Yeah.
Generally we'll allocate the resources that are available to us to resolve or complete a task or project. And the more or the less resources we allocate to something, the more creative we will be to try to resolve or make that particular project move forward without using too much. And that's where the Profit First system comes into place. It's limiting those resources, because otherwise we'd spend, like you just mentioned that story about the bright, shiny conference, and I like that story, that reference.
I have to use that one a lot.
Yeah,
I love bright, shiny things.
because that's where I would overspend as well. Would be, hey, I could go to this conference, I can meet so and so, and do other things. And so now I limit. Right now, I've got I think 3 or 4 that I go to annually, and it spreads things out, but it's also allowed me to focus more on business development without the costs as well. And to make those things even more effective. So,
well, Jason brought up the toothpaste example, and it is the Parkinson's law, by the way. I checked it just to make sure, and we were correct. It's not Parkinson's principle. Like I said, it's Parkinson's law. But the toothpaste example, and this is Mike Michalowicz's example, which I think is just fabulous. We've all been here, and I got to tell you, every time I brush my teeth, I think of Mike. For years now. And I do. I think of him every time because we have a full tube of toothpaste. We go, put it all on, and there we go. When we get way down, we're just like this teeny tiny, and we make sure we get that little teeny tiny, as he calls it, the little head of the turtle, and make sure we get it, squeeze it out. And that's what the Parkinson's law is all about that Jason was just talking to, is that we allocate our resources more effectively, more efficiently. And he's right. There's no question when I'm squeezing things there because it's tight for whatever reason, it works.
Yeah. Yep. So creating that habit from the beginning, or implementing a habit like that from the beginning of your business, will have powerful amplification effects as you go along, because your competitors or other people in the industry aren't likely using this because they haven't heard this show, but and it'll be a competitive advantage for you down the future. The amplification of creating this habit from the beginning will make you more resourceful, better allocator of capital and investment, and where you're spending your money. Just amplification all the way around for your business for the long term.
So, Jason, we should also let people know the book is called it's called Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. It's on Amazon. It's a highly rated bestseller for years now. And he's a prolific author. He has many other books that are business orientation books. And if you hear a music box, it's because the sun's coming out and hitting my solar music box. Jason, if they wanted to get in touch with us, we can definitely we'll have links down below of how they can touch. But Jason, what do you specialize in? Then I'll talk about what I specialize in.
So our core services are helping our clients understand their finances through bookkeeping, profit first coaching, and in some cases, fractional CFO work along with the profit first, depending if they have higher needs for inventory, sourcing, raw materials, timing, and things like that. So for us.
Great. And my skill set is to help manufacturers with the whole picture of getting their business profitable so they can grow and scale, and all the elements that are involved in distribution to marketing to mindset to creation of new product, as well as the advisory, because I'm also a Profit First certified coach. Jason is a Profit First Mastery member. I'm a Profit First certified coach. So I always talk about the Profit First method and introduce my clients and help implement the process. And you can reach me at Annette at shemakesproducts.com.
And you can find me, Jason, at aspyradvisors.co. That's ASPYR advisors.co.
And I'll have the links down below, and we're happy to help and talk to anybody. Anything else, Jason?
No, we got some, I think I'll say exciting news coming in the next few weeks that we'll be sharing about the direction of the show and to get it out there more and have a bigger impact. That we'll probably don't have a direct timeline right now, but in the next few weeks. So
yeah. Big exciting changes. And I noticed halfway through our conversation that I didn't have my backdrop of the profitable manufacturer. So welcome to my living room, everybody.
Recording studio.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Welcome to our recording studio. Yeah. Okay. All right. Have a great day.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.